I never thought I'd see my ex-wife again. Not like this, anyway. It was a Friday night, and I was grabbing dinner at one of those upscale restaurants where the waiters wear gloves and the steak costs more than my first car. I don't usually eat at places like this. I like my meals simple, no fanfare. But tonight was different. It had been a long week, and I wanted to treat myself. And then I heard her laugh. Soft at first, then louder. That high, familiar, mocking lilt. It hit me before I even turned around. Jessica. She was sitting a few tables away, dressed in designer everything, the way she always wanted. And right beside her, one arm draped casually over the back of her chair, was the man she left me for. David Monroe. If you don't know his name, you haven't been reading the business pages. CEO of Monroe Holdings. Big shot investor. The kind of guy who owns yachts he never even uses. The kind of guy Jessica always thought she deserved. And then she saw me. Ethan? Her perfectly arched brows shot up, surprise flickering across her face. Then, just as quickly, it turned into amusement. David glanced over his shoulder. His smirk was the kind that made my fists itch. Well. Poor man, still a secretary? Jessica laughed. A quiet, condescending sound. Ethan, what are you even doing here? This place is a little high-end for you, isn't it? I felt it. That familiar sting. The one I thought I'd buried. I could have told them the truth. That my life had changed. That I wasn't the man they thought I was. But I didn't. I just smiled. Just enjoying a good meal. Hope you two are well. Jessica's lips curled, like she was about to say something else, but David cut in first. Must be tough, huh? Still stuck taking notes and fetching coffee while the real players make moves? I didn't rise to the bait. Enjoy your dinner, I said, turning back to my steak. My hands curled into fists under the table, but I forced myself to stay calm. They weren't worth it. Or so I thought. The next morning, my assistant barged into my office, looking like she'd just won the lottery. You are going to love this, she said, barely able to contain her grin. We have a meeting request from Monroe Holdings. Urgent. They need the CEO's signature on a $100 million deal. I leaned back in my chair, letting that sink in. Jessica's husband. The same man who had mocked me last night. The man who thought I was still some low-level secretary, fetching coffee. David Monroe needed me. See, what Jessica and David didn't know, what I hadn't told them, was that life had changed a lot since our divorce. The man they once looked down on wasn't the same anymore. I wasn't just an employee anymore. I was the CEO. Monday morning rolled around, and I was sitting at the head of the long, polished boardroom table when they walked in. David was talking, laughing, probably charming some junior exec on the way in. And Jessica, well, she was glued to her phone, barely paying attention. Then they looked up. And saw me. The shift was instant. First, confusion. Then disbelief. And finally recognition. Jessica actually stumbled. Her eyes widened, and her fingers tightened around her phone. David? Oh, he covered it better. But I saw it. That flicker of panic. That second of realization that he had just mocked the very man who held his fate in his hands. I leaned forward, clasping my hands together. Mr. Monroe, I said smoothly. I understand you have a deal that needs my signature? Silence. Jessica's mouth opened, then closed. Like she wanted to say something, but for the first time in her life she couldn't find the words. David cleared his throat, forcing a smile. Ethan. I didn't realize you were involved in this. Oh, I said, tilting my head slightly, I thought I was just a secretary. Jessica sucked in a breath. David had no choice but to play along. He slid the documents across the table. Just a small misunderstanding. You know how it is. His voice was tight. Forced. I didn't reach for the papers. Instead, I sat back, letting the moment stretch. Then, in the calmest voice possible, I said, "Tell me, David, why should I sign this?" His face paled. Just a fraction. He knew. He knew that one word from me could kill this deal. $100 million gone. And the worst part? He had no power here. No leverage. For the first time, he was the one at a disadvantage. I let the silence drag a little longer. Then I picked up the pen, tapping it against the table. "You see, I believe in professionalism," I said slowly. "Business is business. It's not personal." Jessica let out a breath, like she had been holding it in. "But..." I tapped the pen one last time before setting it down. "It's funny. I suddenly lost all interest in this deal." David's jaw clenched. "Ethan. Be reasonable." I smiled. "Reasonable? Like when you mocked me at dinner?" His nostrils flared. Jessica reached out, touching his arm like she was begging him to stay quiet. But it was already over. I pushed the contract back toward him, untouched. "I think we're done here." Jessica's face was unreadable. But her eyes? Regret. David stood. He didn't say another word. He just gathered the papers, turned on his heel, and stormed out. Jessica lingered. For just a second. Then, in a voice so soft I almost missed it, she whispered, "I never thought you'd end up here." I met her gaze, calm and steady. Neither did I. And then, just like that, she was gone. I won't lie, watching them walk out of that boardroom felt good. But the real victory? It wasn't about revenge. Or proving a point. It was knowing that I had moved on. That I didn't need their validation. That the life I built was mine. They say success is the best revenge. I say peace is. And as I walked out of that boardroom, I felt lighter than I had in years.